Hey, everybody. This is Cassidy, founder and creator of the Caregivers Hub, coming to you today. We are doing our monthly Caregivers Hub Hangouts, and I love to do these Hangouts because I get to bring out people who are inspirational to me, who are, oh, shite. I mean, ooh, I don't know what's happening here. Just a moment. Okay. All right, now. As you can see, this is a very relaxed platform that we have going on here today. And before I got so really interrupted with myself, I love these Hangouts because we get to bring out people who are creating ripples and are inspirational and who are willing to share their caregiving journeys with all of us. If you don't know what the Caregivers Hub is, this is a community of caregivers for caregivers. We have caregivers, professional caregivers, family caregivers, healthcare workers. We have everybody coming together to help each other and just create a great, non-judgmental, respectful, but fun and informational environment. So with that being said, I'm so glad you're here, and I want to bring out my guest today. My guest is Vince Zangaro. He is a 14-year caregiver to his father with Alzheimer's. He is also a huge advocate for Alzheimer's and dementia, and he has been doing some incredible work that not only benefits people in his community, but it benefits you. If you're providing care to somebody with Alzheimer's and dementia, the things that Vince and his wife advocate for and how they have created...
Hey, honey, I can't get on.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
Good
sorry.
awareness. I can hear you.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Can you see me? There we go. Sorry about that.
I can. Hey, no worries. This is live. This is recorded.
All right. And I was calling my wife, honey.
It's all good.
Right.
No worries. I got that. So
right.
This is Vince. This is Vince Zangaro, and we are going to talk about all the awesome things that he does, and I want him to share his caregiving journey with you. So come on out, Vince.
Hey, my name is Vince Zangaro. I've been caregiver for 14 years. I've also founded the Alzheimer's Music Fest. Worked for Dementia Spotlight Foundation. Been doing the Alzheimer's Music Fest about 6 years. And to be honest with you, how that came about was me and Dad were about 5-6 years into this and got very isolated and lost a lot of friends and didn't really know how to deal with it. We basically stumbled into everything that we learned because 14 years ago, even now, it's even a lot more out there and accessible to people to learn. Back then, there was literally hardly anything. So let's just say I called some of the bigger Alzheimer's nonprofits, and I was kind of disgusted in the support that they provided. And no offense to them, there's traits and things that they do, but I looked at percentages and I looked at what they did, and I was like, well, I got to do something. So because I wanted to form a festival and work with the Alzheimer's Association, when I started talking, oops, I just said it. I wanted to go ahead and move past. Like I said, they do great things, but there's not a respite care program. There's not assistance in the areas. I thought people needed the help right now, right here, where Alzheimer's Association Foundation do great things for awareness and maybe cure, but even the percentage, little off to me. But I wanted to make sure that families got that support and care. And so, 14 years later, we're here doing it.
Oh my gosh, I get so stinking excited. Well, first of all, I'm the product of two deadheads, so I'm a music lover. Like I love music. It's my favorite thing. Festivals are so exciting. And I love that you saw, because of the fact that you're providing care, that people need more than just information and awareness, that they need respite. They need actual real help. And
I think that's what really, a lot of people, I understand people that I can't do their loved one in home, but that's something we talk about later. Because that's even a big chore for a caregiver, because you're going to have to be at that home 4 or 5 days a week. You're going to have to spend several times. You're going to have to look at medications. You're going to have to, give baths. You're going to potentially be doing what a caregiver does at home. but you're going to be traveling there and getting assistance a little bit more often. And I think people do that in that regard because they don't know what to do in their home. They have no idea. So if we as a we as a foundation, because we're partnered with the Dementia Spotlight Foundation, so if we as a group that come together can give the resources to them, I think maybe you'll see a lot more family members staying out.
Absolutely and it's so important. I think that you have a great thing going. So tell me exactly about Alzheimer's Music Fest. You hold this festival, and what do you guys do that helps people in your local community?
Respite care. That's our main objective, is respite care. We try to get respite care for the assistants, to bring CNAs out like yourself or nurses or, whoever they need, depending on what kind of, situation they're in. There's so many different situations and so many people that deal with this, and everybody with Alzheimer's dementia, it's just different. Yeah. You might have similar attributes, but each family's different. Each situation's different. Each care need is different. So we want to be able to bring out there to go to lunch or take your loved one to lunch if you can't do it on your own, or if you need help with a shower, or hey, you need a break, go recharge your battery. It's basically just a well-rounded service that we're really trying to go after here. And, we even look at, and I'm talking now to Dementia Spotlight Foundation, there's a lot of stuff we want to do in the future. Like, okay, hospital beds, I like calling them robo beds. I think hospital beds sound kind of dreary. So we just got a robo bed that, someone gave to us that was really a gift. And wow, what help for Pops and for us as caregivers. Groceries, electric bills. There's so many things because you'll end up as a caregiver normally having no savings. I mean, it's all gone. This is what you're going to do. And this is the majority of people that go through it, especially when you're going through it singly. And you're going to have no savings. You're basically going to, that's it. That's all there is, because at my age, of course, I don't have a retirement. And I'm 42. My retirement went out of the window. So, but it's not any easier with people that are in the baby boomer climate and stuff because they're living off a fixed income. That's not going to cover all the expenses. And insurance, a lot of people don't realize this, that don't deal with Alzheimer's dementia, but it is a mental disability, not a physical disability. So what this means is you will not get health care at home. That will not be paid for. My dad has great insurance. None of that's paid for. Wheelchairs, none of that's paid for. Robo beds, none of that's paid for. Anything basically you need assistance at home, none of it's coming from your insurance company.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, in hospice, that's why we have a lot of people on hospice, because Medicare covers those things: hospital beds, ROHO covers, medications, a CNA to come out 1 to 2 hours a couple times a week, but it is, actually we have a hubber in the group. And this is why the hub is so good, because although the hub is is for caregivers, we have a large group of Alzheimer's dementia caregivers. We have a lady in Florida, her dad is incredibly mobile, but he has stopped eating. Essentially his form of, I think it's frontal lobe dementia.
Right.
Basically, what's happening is his brain is not letting his tired body die, because he is essentially end of life. That is what anybody who's not, in that weird little thing that happens with dementia and Alzheimer's, and which is why Medicare needs to, we need more education about what happens, and we have to change our policies and procedures with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's crazy that this man is physically dying, but he's physically moving.
Right.
And so he doesn't qualify for services.
Right. And that happens very often.
It's exactly.
So that's basically, at the end of the day, that's what the Alzheimer's Music Fest is trying to do in the Georgia community. And of course, we were talking earlier about expanding it. And that's something I really want to do one day. You have to meet the right people to work with. I can't do it on my own.
Well,
And
I'm in Seattle, and I will do whatever it takes, my homie. I'm
well, and then I'm a caregiver. So,
Yeah.
I won't leave my father very long. And
Right.
That's just something I'm very worried about and nervous about. And so, I just have to look at what's in front of us. And so we make Atlanta the best possible. And what's great, though, is you have people traveling to Atlanta back in for this festival. And it's really become, because we start very grassroots. I mean, 80% of the money raised, we try to hit that 80% mark. You're going to have cost. So we try to keep it under 20% cost and 80% to families. It doesn't happen every time, but that's what we really try.
Right.
And I've been doing this so long, I know how to get stuff for free. And I have made relationships. And so, we really try to do it very slowly. And now it's getting to a point where it's becoming a big deal. It's getting there.
Well, like I said, if you get Dead and Company to come and play and you start screaming stuff, I will be there.
We have our own Grateful Dead cover bands over here.
Well, even better. I'll take those too. So I absolutely love that you guys are doing this. And I am excited for what it holds for you and what it holds for this, I don't want to say industry, this community. Right. Community, because it's huge.
Well, I think, our whole thing is, I can't stop. So I understand a lot of families that don't want to speak about it and stuff, but there's a different thing when you've been around for this many years, 14 years, and you get through that about 4 or 5 years that is heart-wrenching, and takes a mental toll on you and your loved one. And then you finally get to a point where you basically decide, no, I'm not going to try to make Dad live in my world. We're going to live in his world. Right. And then when you start doing that and start speaking about it and talking about it, it's not annoying. I don't care if I annoy people. I talk about it all the time. I don't care. It's whatever, and it's just, that's what you have to do. And when you start making a notice, because you can't just sit here. I can't do any, I'm here as a caregiver for my father, and I make his life as wonderful as it possibly can be. But at the same time, I feel like I just got to do more and more and more and more, and I can't stop. It's just now in my brain. I can't stop. And I think most people are like that, and most caregivers, or many caregivers are like that. In any, whether that's anything you're dealing with, not just Alzheimer's, dementia, you're touching so many things.
Exactly. And I think that, that's kind of where I got to a point where I was like, okay, before I started the Caregivers Hub, I'm a 13-year CNA with all this knowledge and experience and, 3 years in the Alzheimer's unit. That taught me a lot about myself, about my patience, about my compassion, my understanding, just all of it. And
it's a master course, right? It's kind of like, it's, I call it master course in life. A lot of people, they don't, best way I can say is when you get older and say in your 60s and 70s, you start not caring about the small crap. You look at the real stuff. You even get more open-minded in some cases, especially in the world we're living in today. And what Dad has done for me is totally just broke down those walls. Like, all this other crap. I don't even watch TMZ and celebrity crap anymore because I could give a crap.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we got real crap going on here. That's great. Glad you're celebrities, but don't be mean to celebrities either. That's not news to me. Celebrity gets a DUI. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Sorry, buddy. It's, you don't, you just kind of live in this world and you start looking at it that way, and you just become a nice person, to be honest with you. You just don't have the hang-ups you used to. Don't care what your car is fancy. Don't care if you have a nice house. You're just happy to pay the bills and care for your loved one and have food in the fridge.
Exactly. And I think it's even more important because, like you said, by the end of, or not even the end, when people start getting into these journeys, providing care to their loved ones, it breaks something within you. It takes every ounce of everything that you have. And then at the end of it, they are broken. They've given up their marriages, their houses, their jobs, their finances to provide care for somebody. And basically, we need more people like you doing what you're doing to help them, because they don't have people. They don't have any resources.
Well, they have a lot of, there's a lot of people out there that do this in quiet, and I really respect them. And, and I understand doing that, but also not everybody wants to speak up about things. I get it. But again, it's 14 years, guys. Seriously, after that first 5 years, I would have ended up being depressed. And seriously, really, I was already going in a manic depressive state. So, and that's not good for my father either. And so, I just had to start speaking and writing. That's all. That's it. It just started as a a journal on Facebook. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And believe me, they weren't the happiest posts. Now they're pretty happy. But
you know what? They're real, though. You know what I mean? You are very transparent. You've been very transparent about your journey and about all of the things that you've gone through. And I love that even in the shittiest of times, you find a way to say, this is where I am. This sucks, but here I am.
Well, you shed a lot of skins with this stuff. I mean, you go through skin and you get callous, but in a good way. It's like playing the guitar. You want to be good at the guitar where you're going to practice all the time, and then it becomes second nature, right? And you get a lot of calluses, but it's good callus. It's the same thing with this. It's a good callus on the brain and your emotional state. I mean, even the way I talk to my wife if we get an argument or anything, I'm like, okay, honey, all right, we got an argument. Let's talk. Let's talk this out. We don't wait to the next day most of the time. It's like 10 minutes later, we have the conversation. I'm sorry. These are things, this is what happened. I apologize, whether it's her or my fault or whatever happened, which normally you never know. Same thing with Pops, it gives you this, I always say this, but he is my teacher. And he's my son, he's my father, he's my best friend, he's everything wrapped into one. And my whole goal in life is just to make him smile. So if we can do that, then I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. I swear, I mean, doing hospice, most people I often get, hey, Cassidy, all the hard cases here. Will you take this combative times 3 end stage Alzheimer's? And I'm like, I'll gladly take it, because I don't know what it is or exactly how I do it, but I've never had a hard time. Even it'll say all over everything, use 3 people, she hits, she screams. And honestly, if you take things slow and you treat them like the human beings that they are.
You're right. It takes patience. You have to be where they're at. You can't make them exactly what I said earlier. You can't put them where you're at. You really have to have that patience. But I think it's beneficial for any caregiver. And I think anybody that takes on something like this is going to become a better human being because of it.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think it's that big of a deal, just because, I had a good middle-class family. They let me do music and get crazy hair and was supportive and tattoos. And, they never turned their back on me. So I don't know if it's an Italian thing, but, that's what you do. So we take care of them. I just don't think it's that huge of a deal in my mind.
Right. Well, and, I mean, I see people a lot of the times. I run into people who shouldn't be providing care. Right. Family members who really just absolutely have no idea. And not to mention the fact that, I mean, a lot of what we do in hospice, especially as our organization, is we are centered around education. We are going to provide those caregivers education if they don't have it. We're going to show them how to take care of a bedbound person at the end of life. That is what we're going to do. But sometimes you run into people and into families who are absolutely in denial about what's happening, and they don't, they are literally unwilling to take what you have to say into consideration. And it really sucks, because then we get this thing where it's almost like the person who should be receiving the most care right now is not.
Right.
Emotionally, physically, but not emotionally.
Well, again, this isn't for everybody. Everybody has a different brain. It doesn't make them bad people.
Right. Absolutely. I tell my hubbers all the time, there's no shame or blame in placing your loved one. Just be educated about where you're placing them. And just because you place your loved one doesn't mean that you stop advocating for them.
No,
you still have
you always advocate.
You have to. And I see that a lot. I take care of a lot of people who I don't want to use the word dump, but essentially there's mom and dad, and we are basically the only people they ever see. You know, we are their family. We are the people showing up to provide them care and be there for them. And that's no reflection upon their families. I'm not going to even get into saying like nasty things about people who place their loved ones, but sometimes it's just necessary. And sometimes we have to rely upon healthcare workers. And that's what I'm an advocate for. Let's do a good job so you guys can leave your family members with us and feel okay doing that. I get the trust is broken out here. I don't know how we're going to change it exactly, but we have to do something.
Well, I guess, what you said earlier before we got on this, I think more education. And it's not something you're going to learn in a 3-day course. It might help you and steer you in the right way. But I think, people out there like Tifa Snow and these people advocating, and, Pam and Amy's place over here in Georgia, is the first freestanding memory care cafe. And
I know I subscribe to her newsletter.
Yeah. And, they've really went out there and they've started this educational really hard, and they're always there, but we're all stumbling through it.
Yeah.
It's just, but we're learning as we go. And your loved one's learning too in a different way. You don't realize that, how to adapt to their new reality. And their new reality is, where they're at right now. Exactly. That doesn't mean they're gone. They believe me, they're in their new reality. And I think people always just go, oh, they're not going to remember. It doesn't. Oh, dude, I hate that.
That's my difference. That's the difference between, I guess that is the difference between myself and other caregivers, is I always, even to the very last minute, I am always recognizing and understanding that this soul is still in this vessel and still deserves the respect and compassion and dignity that anybody else can. They just cannot communicate.
Well, it's feelings, and it's still there. It's just different. And, and I never want to perceive to anybody that being a caregiver is like being a parent to a newborn or a 3-year-old, but there are some aspects, because you know what? Would you just leave your baby and walk out and not go, oh, you don't know anything, whatever.
Right.
Who cares? You wouldn't do that. And I think we treat the elderly in this country with a lot less respect that they deserve.
Agreed. I walked into this adult family home when I was training, and there was a Hoyer lift in a patient's room that I needed to grab for the patient that I was caring for. And I knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and I said, well, hi, how are you? And we had this beautiful conversation about, can I grab this Hoyer? How's your day? Blah, 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 blah. We walked out, and the caregiver came in, and her jaw just dropped. She said, this is the first time I've ever heard her speak. And she even made a point before I went in that room to tell me she won't understand anything I say to her. And I'm like, this is what I'm saying, is you have this preconceived notion that that's the way that it is. But if you just walk in and say, hey, how are you? Put a smile on your face. You never know what they're going to come out with.
No, you don't. And it's a life. It's just a different kind of life. We don't know enough. There's no one out there that knows enough. There's no experts in this field. I truly believe that. There's no experts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think caregivers, and I think they're more of experts than anybody in this.
Right.
But, there just isn't. I truly believe that. We're just not to a point where there is experts and people like that. And I think
it's a new thing. I mean, we have come a long way. And I mean, you said
and just in 14 years, And my dad had, my dad's dad had Alzheimer's.
And they knew
nothing back then. And my dad's brother just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dad. So, it looks like we got a male gene thing going on here. Yeah. So, but, I'll hear these things kind of like, and I get people get very hurt by this, and I hear like Alzheimer's sucks, and all this hashtag Alzheimer's sucks. And I got to tell you, it's not wonderful, but, you have to build a relationship and stop hating Alzheimer's. You know what? Or you're not going to have a relationship with your loved ones.
Yeah.
You got to just stop. I hate it. And I get it. It sucks. But maybe it's because we've been doing it so long. I had to form a relationship with Alzheimer's. I have a relationship with my dad.
Absolutely. And I think that between starting and where that is, I think that that is the make it or break it for family caregivers with Alzheimer's and dementia. Either we're going to get to that point where we have cried big ugly tears and we have been so depressed and we have been broken people, and now we're just gonna, you know, understand that this is where we're at and this is what we need to do. I mean, another shout out to one of my hubbers, Lisa, she goes and sees her mom, and I love Lisa because she writes these Golden Girls updates, and her mom's in a facility, and she's got some behaviors, and she's a wanderer, so you never know where you're gonna find her or what she's into or what. You know?
I've been through that. Yeah, I understand the wandering phase.
Exactly.
That was fun.
It's just like by sharing, I mean, she gets to a point where she's very transparent too, where she says, you know, this is the reality of where she is. But I love her post because she really makes light of the darkest of situations, while being transparent and saying, like, this is where we're at and this tears my heart out. But, you know, isn't this so funny? She's got 2 different shoes on and neither one of them are hers.
Right.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
well, you have to look at it like that. It's kind of like, you know, it's, and I think having the relationship, but that takes time. You can't teach someone that, you know, and it's okay if you don't have, I wouldn't say the capability. It's not your thing. We all have different talents and different things we're good at in the world. And, you know, exactly. I've dealt with many people where they have 5 siblings and they're all trying to care for their loved one. And it's a freaking train wreck. Like I always tell them, I'm like, designate one of the siblings to be the caregivers. You guys support that person. Right. I think that's the best, unless you're that 10% that have completely functional families, which I don't think many people do. But
not in my book.
Which is wonderful. But like you said, like at home, you know, Marianne, who's a really good friend of mine that does the Hope Matters thing. And, you know, Debbie Fowler, you know, they both have their loved ones in facilities. And Marianne actually lost her mom, and she's had to go through this, but she was there 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything. That's the difference. And you're going to have to be there.
Have to advocate. You still have to advocate for your loved one, you know. And that's, I guess, on my end of it, that's what I'm frustrated with seeing. It's always been extremely important to me to make sure that I'm caring for people's loved ones the way they want them cared for, how that person wants to be cared for, and how that facility they're in wants them cared for. And so that's how I go into when I take care of a patient. That's how I do it. And I just feel like sometimes us professional caregivers, we have to be willing to learn, accept constructive criticism. If someone asks you to take care of their loved one a certain way, a roll of the eyes and a "this sucks" isn't going to help anything. You know, be proactive, jump in there. And if you don't understand how they want you to care for them, ask a question. If you don't understand how to do something, ask a question. Like, I guess I just really want us as certified nurses aides to raise our quality of care. It should encompass all of it, not just I'm going to show up for a paycheck, but I don't know how I'm going to fix that.
No, and yeah, I think that's with anything, you know. I mean, I think if you don't have passion for it, get the hell out of the field, man.
I agree, but the problem is it has become such a moneymaker.
Well, CNAs don't get paid too well, though. I mean, what's the average for you guys? Like $10 to $15 an hour?
10, I would say between 10 and 12 you're going to find out here, unless you work at a hospital or, you know, well, some agencies will pay $15 to $16, but I see a lot of adult family homes that have a lot of people from other countries who are willing to work for the lower wages than most CNAs who are from America. Right. I know this is a big can of worms and it's a big controversial thing, but I just, like, full disclaimer, I have worked with many people from many different countries, and I have seen good caregivers and shitty caregivers in all ethnicities.
Right.
You know, so it's not necessarily you come from another country and
well, we all come from another country. So,
exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes other countries have a different standard of care than we do here in America.
Right.
And so it creates this thing where they're not educated enough. They're throwing these people into these caregiving situations. They don't necessarily have the experience or the knowledge, and basically their bodies to show up and provide care. And that's when it gets scary. That's when things happen. And that is why we don't have any trust in the healthcare industry for caregivers providing care to their loved ones.
Well, I think, there's a couple things here. It takes you a while to find a great CNA.
Yeah.
Like, I poached Essence.
Yeah.
She was with an agency that was charging like $20 an hour. Essence was, making $12 an hour.
Absolutely.
Like and I just went, and hey, I wouldn't say don't do this. Sorry if it pisses people off at agencies, but I'm like, would you come work with me? And that agency is not around anymore.
Right.
And I was like, I'll pay you $13 cash an hour.
Yeah. Exactly.
You come do that, and she's been with us ever since. Dude, I told you earlier, that is, besides her and my wife, the only people I trust.
Right.
To do anything. She's amazing. She is just absolutely amazing. Like, she goes to her job at assisted care facility, then comes here, and she really tries to help us out. Like, we don't get care very often. We get it about 2 times a month. Only 2 times a month. That's what we can afford. And it's pretty amazing. But I can always walk out of this house now. Like, I couldn't believe it the other day. We were at the Dementia Spotlight Foundation event over here in Atlanta. Really amazing event. Like, I swear that Roxy or the Buckhead Theater was almost sold out. It was all caregivers and families and so much positive energy there. And I didn't call her for like 3 hours to check on Dad. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't called for 3 hours. That's how much I trust her. But that took many, many years.
Yeah.
Because I know she'll contact me, and I'm always looking on my phone.
Yeah.
Hey, everything okay? And all that. But there's amazing, and CNAs, I think, have some of the hardest jobs and the most undervalued jobs out there.
Absolutely. And this industry shits on them every day.
Yep.
And I hate to say that, but it does.
Well, it's just, you got to kind of what you're doing, advocate for it and make sure that everybody's good. Not everybody's great nurses. Not everybody's great doctors. Right. Not everybody. I mean, everybody's different. Not everybody's a great musician. Not everybody is a great event planner. Not everybody's a good caregiver. It's just, there's some things that people are talented at. But with being a CNA, it's kind of like, okay, if I was really crappy at music, I would have quit a long time. It's like, kind of just figure it out. If you're not good at something, kind of really look at yourself. Well, maybe something else might be better.
Right.
And I think sometimes, I'm not saying don't quit your goals or your dreams, but if you're doing it for 10 years and you don't see something happening, or you really don't have that ability to get to a next level, even working that hard, there's a lot of other things. I never want to tell anybody to give up. But in a CNA field, you got to be passionate about it, because it's not for the money. It's not
absolutely.
For the money.
And it's taken me 14 years through many nursing homes, private care agencies, doing all of this to finally get into a position where I'm making almost $20 an hour. I have incredible benefits. I mean, these are the holy grail CNA jobs.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
But it's come to me because I worked in the Alzheimer's unit for 3 years with this nurse and in other places, and she went to work for hospice, and a position opened up, and she's like, I really think that you would be, this is for you. And she was right. And so it all happened seamlessly, but it's taken me 4 years to realize that my skills are valuable and that I'm not just a glorified butt wiper, and that I am worthy of.
Well, there's nothing ever wrong with a glorified butt wiper.
Well, to a certain extent,
yeah, I know.
It doesn't bother me one bit, but
hey, I'm good at wiping my dad's butt. I'm proud of that.
Hey man,
that took me a lot of years just to get in there and get it done.
So you gotta get in there. I know. When I see crappy peri care, I'm like, no. You need like 10 times more wipes than that. You're gonna need 4 more gloves.
Right. Like I give my dower a shower almost every day. Sometimes we do, and it's just easier to do it that way to me.
It is.
It's kind of like Dad can't move on his own, so you get him and then you steer him in, because I do have the strength to do it. Like my wife can't really do that on her own.
Yeah.
You know, she weighs like $110 and Dad's still 150 pounds. So,
Yeah.
you know,
He's still what?
Dad's 150 pounds.
Oh, I thought you said 350. I'm like,
no, 150. No, he's only 5'2", so 150 is pretty good weight for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, when you do that, the doctors never, like, if we go in there, like, I can't believe your dad weighs 150.
I know.
You know, and it's just, we have a routine here, and I think that's the most important thing sometimes is it gets monotonous, but you got to have the routine. You got to wake up in the morning, do the thing. You know, and I know with Alzheimer's dementia, like right now we're struggling because Dad's staying up later. But I still wake him up at 6 to 7 in the morning or earlier, just depending on the day. And I get him in the shower. And then if he's sleepy after that, after he eats breakfast, well, then I know I'll let him sleep until he's like, oh, and, you know, then we'll do lunch. But you got to keep that you really do got to keep it almost like just that consistency, almost just like kind of like when you used to work in a factory. I know it gets boring, but you have to figure out ways to do it. Pull out the guitar or listen to music or call someone on the phone or, you know, work on Alzheimer's Music Fest, you know, whatever you're going to do it. Because staying at home and being, you know, it's just only been the last 3 years since Dad's been less mobile, where he can still walk to the bathroom assisted, really assisted, you know, like really but you know, we can't just pop up and go anymore. And people get angry at me sometimes. They're like, why haven't you been here? They don't understand. I'm like, we can't just go do that. I mean, everything I plan is almost 2-3 months in advance. Just to plan the functions that we do with Alzheimer's or shows or even a date night. That's what we have to do. Now, does anybody else in the world work like that?
No.
So we don't have that spontaneous thing. And I try to explain that to people. I'm like, hey, if you guys give me about 2 months, and I think they think I'm crazy. I'm like, if you give me a date for 2 months, we'll be there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but they don't understand that. I think they really think I'm exaggerating or something.
But if they were in your shoes and they had to do all of that care, they probably would feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way. Time management helps a lot. With this, and I've always had very good time management. So that's something that helps a great deal.
So what I always ran into, at least what I saw a lot, especially in the Alzheimer's unit, was you know, there gets to the point where with Alzheimer's and dementia, people, the normal routines, the information just is not there. How to tie their shoes, how to use a spoon, you know, and I had this one little man who would come from an assisted living to see his wife in the Alzheimer's unit, and he would get extremely upset when she ate with her fingers. And he kept and of course, you know, he did not understand what was happening at all. Right. And so, I mean, he full out one day slapped her in the face.
Holy shit.
I know. And we're like, wait a minute here.
I understand it's stressful.
Wait a minute here.
I understand it's stressful, and I've been there back in the day. But just let him eat with his hands. Or let her eat with the hands. You just go with it.
I know. Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying is, like, there comes a point when those normal routines that we've learned from birth have to go out the window, and we have to find our own routines and our own new normal with what's going on.
And, you know, no, I mean, with this stuff, you know, with anything with that, you're going to go through those breaking points with each stage of this, whether that's they're very agitated and combative, or you're agitated and combative back at them. That's not going to help, but you'll go through it. It's going to be, you have to go through it. So never get mad at yourself when you go through. Now, slapping someone, I mean,
it was a big ordeal. And actually, and he was like 80 something. And actually it went to court, and a judge actually determined he could not see his wife for a year.
Oh, wow. He probably felt horrible about it, though.
We all did. We all did, because that's one of those devastating scenarios where it's like, you know, there's no way he is ever going to understand what's happening with her. And, you know, now at the end of their lives, potentially, they won't see each other for at least a year. And we as healthcare workers can't just let somebody come in and slap our patients, even if they are their wives. And we have a protocol and policy and procedure that we have to follow. So it's like in those situations, nobody wins. there's nothing that you can do, and it's a devastating thing to watch.
Well, believe me, there was breaking points of Dad and I when I wouldn't accept it, and he would like touch Amy hard or myself, and I never hit him, of course, or anything like that.
I know.
But there's sometimes I had to restrain him during the combative parts. But that's also before I learned how to be a proper caregiver, and accept him for who he was, and not like, Dad, you don't know how to write your signature. You don't know how to write your signature. Write it, write your name, like just you will go through that, and that's okay. But you got to get through it.
Right.
You can't stay. You can't stay in that. You got to move on, or it's going to be miserable for everybody.
Exactly. And so that's the kind of one thing that I always would always think about when I saw that, like, how do I help you understand that information just isn't there, that they're not doing this to upset you. And it's not because they just don't want to, it's because they literally can't.
No, and that's exactly right. But it takes you a minute, and I'll advocate for people that go through those frustrations, because like I said, that first 2 years wasn't that bad because we just kind of were ignorant to it. That'll get a little bit, whatever, no big. And then when it starts getting in that 3-4 years, and you're starting to brush teeth and getting in the showers and the wandering and combative can happen, and things like that, it breaks you down. Now, either you're going to stand up and do something with it, or you're going to break down and move on, which that's up to you. And it depends on the person you are, and doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means, like, if you can't get over that hump, you need help, and you should get proper help.
That's why we need more things like Alzheimer's Music Fest and all that you're doing with, what did you say, Dementia Spotlight?
Dementia Spotlight Foundation.
Dementia Spotlight. I need to write that down. Awesome. That's why we need all of the education, and it's just going to get, we're going to start exploding here.
I think, in Georgia, it's pretty crazy. When I first started in Georgia, there was really nothing out here doing this except for, and then I met a great man called Gary Kitchen from the Leon M. Kitchen Foundation. And we started working together, and he's done wonders. They raise almost $100,000 a year for respite care.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty amazing. That goes a long way. And then after that, Dad's become a little local celebrity here because we get press and stuff because, the fest and all that stuff. And we don't mind doing it because it helps us raise money for families. So we're the guinea pigs that, and for some reason, Alzheimer's Music Fest is not enough of a story. They want Ops and me and Amy. So we're like, okay, we'll be fame whores for a minute, for literally 5 minutes, and then people will forget about it and move on. But that helps us raise money and awareness. So we're good with doing it. But I can't wait to Alzheimer's on its own, like the Music Fest and other families, and those people really get recognized. But not through just media, just through everyday life. I think that's what's important. I think everyday life, like if you see a family out to lunch going through that, I've had families buy our family dinner before. Like, we're just sitting there doing our thing, and I'm feeding Dad, in the restaurant and wiping his mouth. Next, the dinner's paid.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. There is a lot of kindness in their school.
There certainly is. And I think the thing about dementia and Alzheimer's is that it is such a progressing, we're still learning so much, and there's still so much to learn about it. And I think that once more people start to understand dementia and Alzheimer's, then I think that those things are just going to grow. It's just going to get bigger.
It will. I've seen a big difference in just 14 years, but still, it's so funny to me. You still walk out and they just think it's like, oh my God, I hate this. Every year when we do the Alzheimer's Music Fest and we start promoting it, I always get about 40 of these comments. I forgot to go. And they think it's funny. And I sit there after about like 8. And it's funny that they're saying that because they think it's clever. Right. And I'm just like, and I just delete it or whatever I can do. But I'm just like, you ignorant assholes. Yeah. Sorry. Don't comment. If you don't know it, don't comment on it.
Right.
You know, if you're a comedian, it's good if you come from a good point, if you've lived it. And I've seen great comedians that have lived this, and they can take it from a positive place and do something funny with it. But don't try to be funny with it, because you're going to just embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to mess with caregivers. We'll kick your ass.
That's the truth. Well, and I was eating Thai food at this restaurant one day, and this couple was sitting next to me, and then all of a sudden it was a conversation, and I hate to admit that I'm a horrible eavesdropper. Like, I am always listening to other people's conversations. It's horrible. But I heard him talking to his wife about going up to visit so-and-so in the nursing home for somebody's birthday. And what I assumed was like a grandson or a son was like, oh no, why go waste our day going up there? She doesn't even know what's going on. And it took everything I had within me to be like, you don't even understand what your presence would do, even if she can't tell you.
Right.
You know?
No, and it really is. It's an energy. That's the way, me and Dad haven't said complete sentences to each other for a very long time. And when it happens, I post about it. I get excited, but
yeah,
it's just the energy. I really believe in energy and positive energy.
Absolutely.
I see it. I see it every day.
For me, it's the eyes. The eyes will always tell me everything I need to know about somebody.
And Pops has some big bright blue ones, so he melts your heart every time he opens them. So
awesome. Well,
I got to get him actually to bed.
Absolutely awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and talk about Alzheimer's Music Fest. You threw me the link to donate for Alzheimer's Music Fest. I'm going to donate. I highly encourage you guys to donate if you have come across this video and across Vince's link, because it is super important, and this is just going to get bigger. And like I said, this affects all of us, whether we're caring for people with dementia or Alzheimer's, or we've lost somebody to dementia and Alzheimer's. It's important. So that's all I've got for you, lovelies. Is there anything else that you've got to say, Vince?
No, thank you, guys. You can just look up at alzheimersmusicfest.org, and you'll find out all the info on the event we're about to have September 16th.
Awesome. All right. Peace out, you guys. Have a good one.